When people think of earthquakes, most people think California. However, Washington State has the second highest earthquake risk in our whole country. It's got a real seismic risk, even if it's quiet most of the time. So in this video, we're going to take a practical overview of earthquake insurance in Washington State. This video should help the viewer decide, do I really need earthquake insurance? How does earthquake insurance work? What the coverages are? What the cost is? And is it right for my situation? So stay tuned. Let's take a look at these topics together. Okay, so why Washington has earthquake risk? Well, the Pacific Northwest sits over the Cascadia Subduction Zone, which is capable of a very large earthquake, something to the extent of 9.0 in magnitude, which is huge. It could be catastrophic. Now, in 2001, in the Puget Sound faults, the Nisqually quake, which had a magnitude of 6.8, which is terrific, and it caused extensive damage, nearly $2 billion in losses. Now let's compare it to the Northridge earthquake, which had a 6.7 earthquake, which was a lower magnitude, but it caused $20 billion in damages, and that was in 1994 numbers, for the financial numbers. Why that is because the Northridge earthquake, the focus of the earthquake was closer to the crust of the earth, so closer to the surface. So having the Nisqually earthquake deeper into the earth's crust, the damages was not as extensive as in Northridge. So if it was closer to the earth's surface, there would have been further, even more damage than even in the Northridge quake. So that is something to consider. So when people think about a magnitude of the earthquake, is not the only factor in how much damage there will be. Is how deep within the Earth's crust is the point of the earthquake, the focus point of the earthquake. And okay, so if we look at a map, this is the USGS map of the hazard areas of earthquakes. You can see here that in the state of Washington, the red is the highest hazard. The deeper the red, the more hazardous it is, the earthquake. On the coastline, first of all, the whole coastline of the western three states is just red, and the coastline on the western part of Washington State here, which is most of the cities, the major cities, lie in that Puget Sound fault area, and then the Cascadia is on the surface, on the coastline here, subduction zone. And almost all the major cities in Washington State, only Spokane is, except for Spokane, they're all at a major risk of a large earthquake. So they all sit near that hazardous area. Okay, so now let's look at how earthquake insurance works in Washington. And earthquake insurance, it can be either bought as a standalone policy or added as an endorsement to an existing homeowners policy that you have already. And the deductibles, typically the deductibles we've seen from homeowners companies are 10% or 15%, but the deductibles available are from 2.5% to 25%. And it's not a dollar amount, fixed dollar amount like the homeowners policies are. It's a percentage. So let's take a look at an example. So if we have a $400,000 of dwelling coverage and you have a 15% deductible, that's a $60,000 out of pocket before the coverage begins to be covered by the earthquake insurance. Okay, and if we look at What earthquake insurance covers? Okay, so dwelling, that is the structural of the house, that's the actual house itself. So the structural damage to be rebuilt, the foundation, the walls, the roofing. Other structures, which is something like the detached garage, a patio, pool, shed, fences, and retaining walls. Personal property is the furniture, electronics, breakables, clothing, stuff you can pick up and walk out the door. And then a loss of use or additional living expenses. This will provide temporary housing, hotel, food costs when you're living somewhere else while the house is being reconstructed. Okay, so what earthquake insurance does not cover? Alright, so earthquake insurance policies will not cover prior damage or cracks to the home, to the foundation, etc. Flood, tsunamis. Okay, this could be big in Washington State. Flood and tsunamis are not covered by earthquake insurance. You will need a separate flood insurance policy for that. Even if the earthquake does cause a flood, that damage caused by the flood is not caused by the earthquake, it's caused by the flood. So the flood insurance will be the one that would take care of that. Of course, land damage is not covered either by earthquake insurance. Okay, so how is the premium determined for earthquake insurance, the cost factors? Well, one, deductible. Okay, so the higher the deductible you choose, the lower will be your premium, and vice versa. The home's location and risk zone. The closer your home is to a fault line, the higher the risk of damage to your home, so the higher will be the premium. So if you and the farther it is, if you're in Spokane, you're not that close to the fault lines, so to the major fault lines, so the premium is a lot lower than you're on the western coast of Washington State. So the age, construction, and foundation. Newer constructions will have a lower premium than older homes. Okay, so the newer homes have a more modern code built up to code to withstand damage from an earthquake than older homes are. You know, wood frame homes would cost lower than brick unreinforced masonry homes. So those are the factor, the construction and the age of the home. If your home has been retrofitted, there may be a discount if you have a certificate of retrofitting. So that's more of a discount rather than rating factor, but it will affect the premium. And then the carrier differences. So just like your home and auto insurance, when you're shopping for different coverages, and some carriers will offer a different rate for certain vehicles or certain homes, so will the earthquake insurance companies. So it's a good idea to look around to see what companies offer the best price or the premium for the coverage you're looking for your home. So that it will vary depending on the carrier and your home's location, for example, and the coverages you're seeking. Okay, so let's look at some of these standalone private earthquake insurance versus other options that are available in Washington. As I mentioned, there is an endorsement option in Washington State, which is common. People can add earthquake insurance coverage to their existing homeowners policy. And what the benefits are of a standalone policy is that you'll be able to get a flexible deductible as low as 2.5% deductible versus most homeowners insurance companies, when they add the endorsements, like a 10% deductible or 15%. So you can get custom coverage options for a standalone earthquake insurance policy, where your the endorsement will be more rigid and more fixed coverage amounts, and not as much option to be flexible. And here's one that one of the clients we work with told me. I hadn't thought about this, but a claim on the earthquake policy leaves the home policy claim free. Just like having a separate jewelry policy from not having an endorsement to your homeowner's policy, a piece of jewelry, and you have a claim there, it will not affect your homeowner's insurance. Your homeowner's insurance will be claim free. So that is another factor. Alright, so the benefits of an endorsement. It's the main benefit is going to be that it's simple to add to your current home insurance. It's already being offered, and of course, if the home insurance offers it. So the simplicity of adding it can be a benefit there. Okay, so who should consider earthquake insurance in Washington? Homeowners who strongly should consider it are homes near the fault lines, the high risk fault lines, so near the coastlines, the big cities, Seattle, Bellevue, Kirkland, so those cities and Puget Sound area, of course, is a huge risk there. If you have a high equity in your home, if you have a lot of value, built-in equity, if you have a big investment into your home, and you don't have another place to stay, where will you stay and pay rent elsewhere? Of course, people who do not want to pay out of pocket for the entire rebuild cost, okay, or who can't pay. So maybe you can pay for it, but you don't want to. Okay, so that could be it too. All right. So common misconceptions and mistakes people make with earthquake insurance is they think that the government will help. FEMA's gonna help. FEMA's gonna come out and hand out, a couple of $1,000s here and there. The maximum FEMA payout is something like $43,000. I think the latest amount, and the average is $3,000 to $4,000, and that is not gonna get most homes repaired. So FEMA, the government should not be dependent on. It's not insurance. And one cannot depend on it to guarantee to have their home fixed. Okay, so assuming minor cracks are claim worthy. So minor stuff, especially the deductible factor there, is not going to be something that you should make a claim on. It is going to be for catastrophic before, so you have to pass the claims amount. It most likely will not pass. Just a minor crack will not be enough to meet the claims deductible amount to make a claim. Here's a big one. Buying the cheapest policy without understanding the deductible or the coverages. And this could be huge. If you get the highest deductible and you don't know how the deductible works, and you get the lowest possible coverages, at a time of a claim, that cheap policy is going to cost you a lot of money, because you'll be required to come up with most of the money out of pocket, maybe even get a loan to have your home repaired. And then you have to factor in, if you don't have loss of use or additional living expenses, that additional cost of paying rent elsewhere while your home is being repaired from an earthquake. So you have to understand what the coverages are and what the deductible is. It's not the cheapest policy that always wins. So here's the next one. Assuming endorsement to homeowners option is best. And again, goes back to the coverages. It can be good, but we have to look at the whole package. See what coverages you're getting. What are you really getting out of that endorsement? What's your deductible? And how does it compare to a standalone earthquake insurance policy? Really, it comes down to comparing coverages, comparing options, and picking the best option that is best for you. And leads to the next question line here. It says, not reviewing coverage limits. Okay, so understanding what coverage you have is huge. So that that could play a big factor into either benefiting from your earthquake insurance policy or not, or being disappointed. Okay, here we go. How to get an earthquake insurance quote the right way. Why a quick online quote isn't enough? Of course, a quick online quote is not enough because you have to understand the coverages. If you get the lowest rate, a quick online quote, I just want an estimate. It's understandable. We just want to get a ballpark figure, but you have to understand what a ballpark figure means or for what we're getting it. So I would say investing the time into getting a more exact coverage amount, and then once you have it, then you don't have to go back to it, and you don't have to fix the problem of not knowing. So importance of reviewing deductibles, understanding the out-of-pocket exposure, and matching the coverage to the goals you have for your coverage. What are we trying to protect? And is the coverage and deductible that you're getting quote from sufficient to protecting your home? Okay, so what you have to find what information is typically needed, and it's really going to come down to the home insurance coverage amount. The dwelling coverage on your home insurance is going to be the minimum required to get a quote. So we have to know what company you have, your current home insurance is, and how much it's covered up to for the dwelling limit. And then personal property, other structures, loss of use, you can usually customize that to any amount you want. And talking through these options is going to matter with your insurance agent, because you'll be able to tell them what's important for you, and your agent can give you some ideas of how it will affect you and what the coverages cover, what the sublimits are, and then you may be able to make a better decision on how much you want to invest in protecting your home. Okay, alright, so what to do next? Alright folks, so that's all for earthquake insurance in Washington State. We hope you got a lot out of this video and you're in a better position to make a decision on whether earthquake insurance is even right for your situation, what the coverages are, how the deductible works. But if you'd like to learn more about earthquake insurance, or if you want to get a quote, go to our website at earthquakeagent.com.